Welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. I'm delighted to be joined with Marzhan with her fantastic film, The Voice. We're so delighted. We're doing LA to Kazakhstan right now. How very exciting, and give extra special love because it's 5 a.m. right now for her, okay? And she's just wrapped her feature film, so there you go. But for those that haven't seen The Voice, let's take a look at the clip.
We bow our heads and pray for the one who saved us from the Great War, brought light to our houses, security to our lands, and peace to our hearts. Long may he reign and let his wisdom pour over our souls.
Listen, firstly, I'm gonna give a round of applause for being here at such a crazy hour. I'm so sorry.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited.
Well, welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family. We are delighted to have your film. I loved your film so much for so many different levels, from being a lover of classical music and also just annoyed at people that are so entitled, like you showcase in your film, which I love too. But for those that haven't seen your film, tell us a brief synopsis.
So my film is about this young couple that lives in a dystopian world, the world that we never name, but we understand that it's somewhere it might exist in our imagination, or there might exist somewhere else. And this young couple, one of them is a classical pianist, and he has a fiance, and they both get invited to this mansion by a very rich couple. So they come to this mansion, and this rich couple, the rich man, he offers them a bright future, big career ahead, but everything in the price of being conforming to the realities of this world. And this couple, they face a very big dilemma whether they should go for the things that were promised to them, or stay true to themselves, stay on. So this is the dilemma they have.
It's a brilliant story that, you know, has so much dynamic to it. I love the music that was incorporated into this film, and then the high stakes of just this world, this dystopian world that you created, and just kind of this, you know, uneasy tension, you know, and I think a lot of it comes also, you know, reflection to present day of just abuse of power and ways of living, and how we're orchestrated to live in certain you know, places, etc., etc. And it really came across so good in your film. Where did the inspiration come for you in creating this idea and turning it into a film?
Oh, so the inspiration for this script, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I was writing the script when I was still at school. And at that time I was in LA, in Los Angeles. And when I was in LA, there were like very important movements going on in my home country. And there were peaceful protests held by people, and they were met by the government with some violence and arrests. And usually my country is like, the people in my country, they're very like patient and peaceful people. So events like this, they occur very rarely. So it was kind of historical moment for us. And I was very worried for the people in my country, because because they were, a lot of people, they faced so much violence. But I was there in the US, I was in another country, and I was studying. So I felt like so distant from everything that was happening, but it still affected me so much. And I had so much pain, and I felt helpless. And I really wanted to do something about it. Then I thought like, well, there is nothing that I could do currently at this moment. And I think like everything, like all the frustration that I have, it just accumulated. So I just put everything into this little story. And I couldn't write directly about what was happening in the country, like due to different reasons. So and also I couldn't film it in the US, like I couldn't pretend that it was Kazakhstan, you know. So I came with this idea of creating some world, and I just got the inspirations from the, like, also from the history and from what was happening in my country and what's happening in other countries. And also I always have this like debates in my head, like why do certain things happen? And you know, like why do certain like things they keep repeating like throughout the history? And so
Yeah.
I have all these thoughts in my head, and I put like everything in this little script.
And it works so well. It really was. You know, I love the I mean, this very obviously tense experience. It's like, you know, do you go down a path of like not being yourself, or not sticking to your own values, or do you go along with, you know, what society is telling you to be? And someone who's kind of almost got your life in their hands, like of you know. And I thought that dynamic was so good. And then, you know, thank you for putting something that obviously was affecting you personally. It's hard to be out of your country and going through things and worrying about people you love and the country you love. And, you know, did you kind of find, was there kind of an essence of like therapy, kind of quite therapeutic to articulate a story like this through film? Because I'm sure it was for that and that reason, right?
Yeah, it was quite therapeutic. Also, interesting thing, when I was pitching the story to like my classmates, and they were all from different parts of the world, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Russia, Mexico, China, and America.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, they were like, oh, this is so relatable. Everyone was
Yeah.
like,
And I think that's the wonderful thing that you showcase in your film, is that, you know, even though obviously you've got your own personal experiences, I mean, every country's got a different dynamic, different things going on that maybe they agree with, disagree with, etc. And I thought, you know, it almost felt very universal, the story that you put out there, which was so good. I have to say, I was very impressed with, you know, the actors that you had in the film. It was so well directed. You know, it really was. And I'm just curious about when you've got, you know, kind of, obviously you've got music in here, but you've also got kind of a lot of high tension moments and creating that dynamic. And then I love a good dinner table conflict of like that theme. That it's such a wonderful thing to watch on screen. How do you work as a director in creating that, working with your actors, bringing your actors together, and creating that dynamic as well? And also, I love the place that you shot. It was insane. It's brilliant.
yeah. So actually, the place that we shot, like I was looking for the place for like 2 months probably, and I
Mm-hmm.
was already giving up. I thought like, oh, there's nothing that really suits the mood of the story, because I wanted something that would like, that we would not register where this is at. And also this is a rich couple, so they had to have like a very like interesting like bizarre setting, I think. And then like, I don't know, for by some chance I just found this amazing place in Gigster, and it wasn't that popular yet. Right now this place is pretty popular, and it's in a lot of music videos and movies. And uh and and at that time, like, yeah, I didn't know about this place. And so when we got there, and I saw this like huge table, like me and my director of photography were like, oh, this would be so weird. Like the actors, the four people are sitting at this very long, big table, and we could show like the distance between each other. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the dynamic between the actors, it was like so important for me. And I, as a director, I really love, like the favorite thing for me is to work with the actors.
Mm-hmm.
So we had rehearsals prior to that. And I just remember one of the actors, he couldn't make it to the rehearsal, so he was over the FaceTime with us, and we were like, the people were at the table, and one of them was on the FaceTime, but it was like so much fun. And while we were filming, like every second I could get, I would talk to the actors, and we'll just sit at the round table and be like, oh, like they were trying to like work from each other, and it was so.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was my first experience directing like multiple actors at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was very like challenging and interesting for me.
What have you, like from this project, like what, you know, that whole dynamic from when you first, you know, decided to put pen to paper to this and then coming full circle in terms of production, you know, what have you maybe have learned from this project the most? From this I mean, you obviously went to a very prestigious film school in New York Film Academy in Los Angeles. And we've had so many great films at New Filmmakers that have come from that school, and you're so early in your career. But like, what have you learned from this particular project? And with that being said, like, what kind of audience reaction have you got from the film as well?
With this particular project, I've learned that imagination and the result are not necessarily aligned or the same. Yeah. And you can have like so much expectations in your head, and then the results will be different, and you just have to work with whatever you end up with. And for me, the post-production took quite a long time because I couldn't really like whenever I was seeing the footage, everyone around me, they were like, this is amazing, Marzhan, you should be proud of this. And I thought, no, this is not what was in my head initially. And I had this inner fight with myself with like what I was expecting to have and with what I had. And because of that like debate in my head and fight, I couldn't really like proceed with the post-production. I was like postponing it, and I couldn't really like embrace what I had in the end for quite a long time. And but right now, like learning from this experience, I've learned that you should really embrace the work that you did, and
Mhm.
embrace the work that all like so many people did on this movie. There were so many people working on this project, and I'm really grateful to every one of them.
Yeah.
And I realized that whenever I was like postponing the post-production, I was not acknowledging the work did by so many other people, because everyone was so excited to see the finished product. And people were texting me like, oh, did you finish the post-production? Did you finish? And I was like, well, not yet. Like, I need to work on this, I need to work on that. And I thought about like, oh, maybe I should do some reshoots. Maybe I should do some pickup shots, because like when we were filming this, we were really struggling with the time. And we, because of like the budget constraints, we really had to make a very tight schedule. And while working on this, me and DP, we were cutting off a lot of shots. And that's why like in the post-production, like in the editing, I was not really happy. I was like, oh, I missed this shot and I missed that shot. Like I wish we did that, and I think like every filmmaker is gonna have like regrets like this, but in the end of the day, it's the like whatever you have, you really have to you have to try to make something good out of it,
Definitely.
and acknowledge the work that were done by so many people. Because like I remember when I first came, like when I came on set on that day, like there were a lot of my classmates, and nobody expected to be filming in this huge beautiful location. And everyone was so excited, and I could see like how everyone was so inspired to work. Everyone was like really putting a lot of their effort into this movie. And yeah, I just think like for me right now, the lesson is you should be like grateful for what you have. Of course, like
Mhm.
aim for something like bigger, for the better quality.
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
Whatever you have to work with it. And like in the editing, you're trying like to make it better.
Mhm.
uh, but also, yeah, just like be very grateful for the work that were done by great talented people.
Yeah, we had a great team from, you know, obviously great scores, some amazing music that some of us all know, you know, great set design, greatly, wonderfully shot. You know, it was the full package. It shows the great team that you had, and everybody wanted to work with you. So credit to you. What did you kind of want? And sort of my second part was like, what did you want your audience to take from your film, or what's the reaction been like for you?
My audience, You know, when I was writing the story, it was more about the plot,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted like people to know more about this world, and I had this like very complicated story. But
Mm-hmm.
then because of the budget constraints, and right now I'm really grateful that I had this budget constraint. I had to like cut down a lot of actions, a lot of things. And in the end of the day, I just thought like, oh, it's not really the plot that matters, but the idea behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could put the audience in some kind of a mood, and they could ask the questions, and it wasn't like the movie is not educational, or it's not something that I would want people, you know, to learn something from it, but it's more about like, oh, maybe they could watch it and they ask the question like, oh, how would they react in this situation? would
Yeah.
they be would they be the the pianist or his
Yeah.
fiance, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Which role are you playing?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
which role
Well,
you're playing.
we're so excited to have your film with us at New Filmmakers LA. I promise it's going to be really great. We'll definitely give you feedback on the experience for us, and we're so grateful to have it, you know, as part of our festival this month. Just to finalize on what's next for you.
Oh, what's next? I'm currently working on scripts,
Mm-hmm.
on my feature scripts, and the one that I finished recently, but I still have to like do more drafts
Yeah.
and start to look for the funding for that. I wrote a script about uh, women in 1930s
Oh, wow.
of the Soviet Union who
Oh,
were put in the labor camps. And this labor camp, it was like for many years, it was in my hometown.
mm-hmm.
And I actually grew up near this camp. It wasn't working at that time, but I knew that like historically that it was the camp for the women who were named by the Soviet government as the betrayers of the country. They were like the wives and sisters of the betrayers of the country, and they were not betrayers of the country. Obviously, they were just people who were not who like who were not good for the country. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yes,
Wow,
and
that's amazing.
yeah, it's a very difficult story, like both morally and like it's a very uh, like intricate topic.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So yeah, I put a lot of time working on the script, and
Yeah, well done.
thank you.
I can't wait to see that film as well. That's so fantastic. You're you know, showcase, you know, highlighting this film of something that actually, you know, took place and happened, and something we need to talk about. So really, really appreciate it. But listen, thank you so much for the voice. Thank you for bringing your film to us. Thank you for getting up so early, and and really, really appreciate you. But we're really very happy to have you part of our film festival. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited, and I hope that my cast and crew, they go to the festival and they're gonna be happy to
Yes,
see. Yeah.
that'd be lovely. Thank you very much.